Hello.
All right. Hello. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. How's it going?
Good, good. Just, warming up by the fire and letting a few people make their way into the live here for a minute, and then we'll get going.
Hi, Jessica. Your background looks very cozy, Lane.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, my wife is to thank. She did pretty much all of it but the book, so. I like the Ravenclaw scarf. Very nice.
Yep. Ravenclaw forever.
Yeah, I'm a Hufflepuff myself, but
My husband's a Hufflepuff.
Jess, good to see you. Thanks for joining, everybody. So far, good, good. We'll give it just a little bit, and then we'll get started.
How's your day been today?
So far, so good. Had a great dinner, had a productive day, lots of virtual meetings and such, and working a little bit here and there on the book, making a TikTok yourself.
Nice. Yeah, actually, I saw on your story you have a TikTok that's blowing up currently.
Yeah, it's got over 10,000 something views and like a 1,100 or something likes, so it went very well.
That's amazing. Well,
Yeah,
congratulations.
thanks.
Sometimes it's hard to pop off on, especially on TikTok.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was just me unboxing that proof, but I mean, people love it, so that's good.
Love it.
All right. Well, I think we're good to go. So I'll do a little intro, and then we'll get going into the questions and such.
Sweet.
All right. So hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Lane Northcutt. I'm a young adult author of the upcoming debut novel, The Delivery Company, and this is day 7 of 12 of my 12 days of Delivery Company. Every night I will be interviewing a different author or indie publishing professional, giving away one of their books or resources at the end, so stick around for those. Tonight I'm very excited to be interviewing author Danielle Harrington. Welcome.
Hello. Glad you
Um,
guys could join us.
yeah, so I'm going to give everybody a little bit of a bio about you, and then we'll move on right on. So Danielle Harrington is a high school chemistry teacher with a passion for the pen and a knack for storytelling. She got her undergraduate degree in chemistry at Biola University, and although she's a hardcore science nerd, she's always been a lover of the arts. She grew up acting and singing and has turned her love for drama into writing. Danielle lives vicariously through her characters and considers it great fun because she gets to play all the parts. Danielle lives in LA with her husband and 2 cats, Moose and Turtle. She is working on a 4-book young adult dystopian fiction series, and she's beyond thrilled to be writing a dystopian series with Acorn Publishing. So welcome, Danielle.
Yay. Thank you.
So glad to have you. I appreciate you doing this, and being on the West Coast, right? So you're at 3 o'clock your time, 6 p.m. my time, but for everybody watching, it's the same time. So how tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're living, how you've been spending your quarantine, and what life has been like for the past, I don't know, 9 months we've been doing this.
Yeah. Life's been a little crazy. Honestly, most of it because I'm a high school teacher and having to teach through this time is incredibly challenging. And in some ways, it does feel like I'm a first year teacher again because I'm having to like redo everything, rewrite my exams, put them online,
Mm-hmm.
scan all my notes, just all of that. So it's been a challenge. I have been able to get quite a bit done. I revised my second book, The Unseen Ones, during quarantine and then published it during quarantine. So that's been a really big project, really exciting. And I'm working on my third book now. I did NaNoWriMo and I think I got like 27,000 words for November. So it's been pretty good. I'm trying to just like not get overwhelmed, I guess. I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm on my own like clock and schedule and stuff, but I feel like it's still pretty easy to get overwhelmed with quarantine. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I totally understand that. I mean, I've been doing a lot of, well, I've been in and out of the hospital for a few things, and then also doing trainings with job stuff, and then writing and editing and getting this book out for publishing as well. But my wife is also a teacher, and so she's been doing the virtual teaching thing since March as well. So I know what it's like. Our entire living room became the classroom, and then I just hid in the bedroom editing away. for most of the months we were quarantined while I was working on this. But you know, it's good that you have, you know, your husband there for support, and also your two cats, right? I believe it's.
Yeah. I saw Katie commented, "We love Moose."
Yeah, I saw that comment. I think it's great.
Moose has an attitude. Turtle is the most pure, sweet little cat in your life. Her meow, so she still sounds like she's a kitten, but she's like 3 now. Oh, when she meows, your heart just melts, and you give her anything she wants. That's the kind of cat she is.
Have you ever written a little off topic, but have you ever written either of Moose or Turtle into your books?
Well, no, I haven't, but I did draft something like when I was in middle school where I had a dog in the book, but I never ended up finishing that project. Moose cameos are life. Turtle is lit too. That's great.
I love it. So tell us a little bit about yourself as a writer. What made you decide to pursue this as you know, in your case, I guess, a secondary career with your teaching, but also, you know, why write now? Why publish a book when you're already teaching? What made you decide to do that?
Well, I've been writing since I was 5, and I've always very much enjoyed it. I think even when I was little, I was like, yeah, I want to get published one day. I think that would be cool. But I didn't actually pursue that fully until probably maybe 4 years ago now. I was getting into like, okay, I think this book series is really cool and I really like it. I could maybe go somewhere with this. And so then I was just like, I have no idea what to do or who to talk to or how to publish a book, but I'm going to do it. And so I went to a writers conference and learned a ton, and went back to that same writers conference a couple of times and just kind of learned. I feel like in some ways this is the second degree for me because I've had to do a lot of this on my own, and I do have a lot of help now that I have a publisher, and I've learned a lot from them as well.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's just because I really like storytelling and because I enjoy acting a lot. It's one of my very big passions, and so this is one way where I feel like I can act. Because it, like you read in my bio, I'm all the characters, and it's so fun. And I enjoy that a lot.
Writers are X Games mode, Coveted Source says. Yes.
Yeah.
I love all these. I love all these. I don't even know what you call them. Pop culture references we have going with our lingo here in the comment section. With lit and X Games mode. But yeah, no, I'm also an actor as well. I did a lot. Both of my degrees are in music theater, so I totally understand. You know, coming from that side of things and trying to put it onto paper and you know, living a different role, a different life on the page. And for you,
that's why actually one of the reasons why I enjoy making my reels so much is because I really like acting, and it's just fun.
And it seems like a lot of people enjoy your reels as well, right? You just had a TikTok like really go well.
Yeah, I had the first TikTok in my life, like actually kind of pop off, and I'm like nearing 100,000 views, which I think would be the greatest thing ever. That's like, if I could hit 100,000 views, that'd be great. I think I'm at like 85,000 views, but like, wow. I never, ever expected that to happen. So it was really shocking. It was kind of cool that happened this week. So.
Yeah, no, that's really exciting. And I mean, this is all right in the time frame that you just released your second book in the series, right?
Yep. So good timing.
Yeah, perfect timing. Exactly. People are going to look up your name after they see you on TikTok and be like, wait, what did she write? Oh, this series. Oh, there's 2 books. I'm going to buy them right now.
Yeah.
So what drew you to dystopian and primarily young adult? Like why young adult?
I really liked reading young adult. So I was familiar with young adult books to begin with as a reader, and so I think I felt a little more comfortable writing young adult. And I've mostly, since I was little, I guess most of what I've written could fall into upper middle grade / young adult. So I was just like, yeah, might as well go for it. And particularly dystopian because I loved the Hunger Games, The Giver, the Uglies series,
mm-hmm.
The TV show Heroes, just like I liked the fast-paced action, powers, corrupt government, just all of it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's I mean that's very much like the standard, right, with YA is if you don't have a corrupt government, it's not YA, I feel like.
I mean, yeah, just got a big part of it.
I don't know why that is, but it just seems like everything is teens against this corrupt government, which is, I mean, a great trope. Obviously, we do it for a reason, so it seems to work.
Mm-hmm.
But with your series specifically, it's 4 books, not a trilogy. Can you talk a little bit about why 4 and not 3?
Yeah, so originally, actually, so I have my books here. Originally, I just was going to write this one because I didn't have anything else planned. But I had this story planned, and it was supposed to be a sad story. And, you know, when I ended it, my sister was very upset at me because she didn't like the ending. So she begged me to write more books in the series, and I was like, no, that's where it ends. But then the more she bugged me and the more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, I love the cast of characters. I could keep going with this. And once I figure out, you know, what does book 2 center around, then I can go for it. And then once I was writing book 2, I was like, okay, so I have rough ideas for how I could continue this. And then those ideas just kept adding and adding. And then eventually I was like, well, to finish this is like way too long now. So this is actually 2 books. So that's how it became. It was going to be 3, and then now it's 4. Because
Gotcha.
I couldn't wrap it up in an appropriate amount of time for what felt like its own story arc. It was turning into 2 story arcs.
Right. And MC is actually,
Hi.
hi Sky, it's good to see you. MC is asking business question. Does TikTok translate to sales?
You know what? Yes. It can. When I was right before I had dropped the diseased ones, I pitched it on a TikTok that ended up getting like 40,000 views or something, and it was sales. And I think part of it is luck because, you know, a lot of the times you post a TikTok and then it's like, cool, I've got like 100 views and 2 likes, love that.
Yep.
But if it actually gets onto the For You page, you could get lucky. So I would say it's worth it, even if you have a small TikTok account, it is worth it because you could get lucky. The other thing too is make it, it's hard to find the right words for this. Make it clear like what the book is and what your product is like right away. And because part of it is people get bored. Like you have a couple seconds for a TikTok, if that, to grab someone's attention before they scroll. So the first like 3 to 5 seconds of your TikTok are crucial. So it needs to be that kind of like grab, pitch something. I did it with my cover because I love my cover. So I like stopped and I was like, okay, take a look at this, 60 seconds of your time, young adult dystopian. And so right in the few seconds, I was hoping that alone would grab people, and it worked for that TikTok.
Yeah, no, and that's a great point. I mean, I definitely started off not knowing TikTok very well. I didn't really scroll through it. I'm actually mostly got it just to watch a little bit here and there because I was like, well, okay, it must be a big deal, right? And then I downloaded it and fell into the trap that everyone falls into when you download TikTok, and ended up watching hours upon hours. But in doing that, I started seeing book talk and you know the trends that are within the book talk community, which I think are very beneficial to authors to be a part of. And actually, I know for sure, I can tell you at least one person has bought my book because of TikTok, and because she found me on TikTok. She watched that video of me unboxing the debut novel, and then she messaged me on my Instagram and said, hey, I followed you on TikTok. I just pre-ordered your book. I just wanted you to know. And I was like, that's amazing. Thank you so much. And then she shared it on her story and she was like, I hope it's okay to share this. And I was like, absolutely share this. Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, MC, it definitely helps to if you can find the right niche and the right video. And like she said, it's really a lot about luck.
Yeah, it's a lot about luck, but also too what pieces of advice that I've gotten, because I think originally my TikToks, I don't know, I feel like my TikToks are okay. They're not the greatest, but if you can make it shorter, it's better. it's really hard to hold on to someone for 60 seconds unless it's one of those like, this guy's doing crazy flips, like this is amazing. The shorter you can make it and provide valuable content to the viewer is going to translate to either more views or shares or likes or potentially even a follow. And actually, Instagram making Reels 30 seconds max has been so good because it's forced me to create content that is short and pithy, and I can't go past 30 seconds on Instagram. It literally cuts me off. So it's a good challenge, but it's forced me to reevaluate like what's important, how do I grab someone's attention, how do I provide value in 30 seconds or even 15 seconds that I was doing in a minute on TikTok.
Absolutely. And I think that's a very important point is that short content is better. And I think that was my issue actually at the beginning was I was doing too long of videos because I came from, you know, I didn't really know anything about TikTok and the community and their attention span. But after learning a little bit about that, like you said, and making the video shorter, I think it really helps a lot. And you can get a free pro account for TikTok that actually shows you analytics as well for your videos. So that's definitely helpful. But you made this TikTok, you've shared this story with a bunch of people and they all went and ordered it. But can you tell us a little bit about the story that they went and ordered? What is this series?
Yeah, so my first one is The Diseased Ones. Essentially, in my society, to become a citizen, you have to take a blood test when you turn 16. And they test for this biomarker in your blood. If you do not have this biomarker, you can become a citizen, get a job, get married, all the things. If you have this biomarker, they kill you. And this biomarker gives people powers. And so the government is in the business of killing people that have powers. And Hollis, my main character, is raised in this society of no emotion and like perfection and all these things. And she has the biomarker. And so she is thrust into this whole new world of people, of diseased ones, of people with powers, and she's trying to figure out, what do I believe? What is true anymore? Was I raised on a complete lie, or like is society right? And are diseased ones these evil, murderous like people that tried to wipe out humanity 100 years ago? So that's the first book. She's trying to figure out what she believes. And then the second book is this one, The Unseen Ones. This came out December 1st, so it's been out for a week. I'm very excited about it. Jubilee's on this stream, I believe. Jubilee's a Twitch streamer. She read The Diseased Ones and The Unseen Ones, like back to back. It was so much fun to listen to her. Yeah, but this book, I guess, should I just read my pitch?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
Okay. So here's the pitch of The Unseen Ones. After the government's brutal attack on the diseased ones, Hollis Timewire must wade through the carnage of her treacherous mistake. The survivors want justice, and now Hollis faces impending execution. Each day, she must prove herself to be a model community member, but chopping firewood for the new camp in the forest isn't enough. Hollis longs to redeem herself, and this sparks an idea to rescue the little boy from the testing center. Stealing the government's secret weapon might just be the perfect way to destabilize the system, enough to bring the whole thing crumbling down. But unseen forces are at work. The world is not what it appears to be, and society has a dark secret that not even Hollis is prepared to face.
That's great. I love that. Yeah,
Thanks.
Very gripping, very interesting, and very and produces a lot of questions. It makes me want to know more about who is Hollis and who is this little boy in the testing center, right?
Hi, Sydney.
We have another question of what powers. No spoilers, though.
What powers? Okay, so you have like some classic powers that you see in like books and TV shows, but there are a few powers that, to my knowledge, I haven't encountered in other pieces of literature. I don't want to claim that like I invented them because I'm sure there's something similar. Everything's been told under the sun. It's all out there. But like, yeah, there are a few powers that I have put some spins on that I'm really proud
of. Could you share what those are without giving anything away, or would that give away the
yeah,
the
actually, so I'll share one. There's a character named Rosalie Simmons. Her power is to show people's memories, kind of like the pensive from Harry Potter, where she, like, from her hands can like project people's memories in real space in real time, and you get to watch what happened in the past. So that's a really cool one. Um, what's my favorite power? I like writing with Hollis's power. It's very it's very interesting. I personally would not want Hollis's power myself, but writing with her power is pretty lit.
And we can't know what that is, right? Because that's part of the main storyline
Yeah,
in the first book.
that's part of the series.
Okay.
It's a continuous part of the series, actually.
Okay, cool. So there's some mystery there for us. Maple Line Fiction. I just interviewed them recently, and they want to know, what advice do you have for writing a good pitch?
Ooh, okay. This is a great question. So there are like whole pitching workshops and stuff that you can take, but mainly you need to distill your story down to three things. One, who is your main character? Two, what do they want more than anything else in the world? And three, what are the stakes? Essentially, like, I guess what's preventing them from getting what they want? Like, what is going to be the main thing that your character is pursuing throughout the story arc? That needs to be in the pitch. And it's a very hard thing to do, and it definitely takes practice. And I recommend getting some other writer friends who can give you feedback on your pitch, because even like my pitch for the diseased ones, it's really short. Like, it's just like a couple sentences, like 6 sentences. That was like over 50 hours of work and 2 different writing conferences and many, many writer friends and my publishers helping me like distill it down and like, or, you know, completely scrap what I had before and just rechange it. Because you don't want to go on and on. Even with readers, like we were talking about TikTok and people getting bored and scrolling in the first couple seconds.
Mm-hmm.
Even readers, if they like your cover and they go, oh, cool, what's this about? And they turn it to the back to read what it's about, and then they get bored halfway through your pitch, they will stop reading it. It's kind of intimidating, but that's just the reality of it.
Oh yeah, and I've done this in the books, you know, and I'll go to the bookstore and I'll pick up a book because it looks interesting. I'll start reading the back and I'll say, or I'm like, that's really cool. And then usually what I do, and I don't know if anybody else does this, I've never really asked many people this, but I'll read the first page to get an idea of the writing style and to see in what tense it's in and everything else, just to like see if it's worth me buying, because the idea might seem cool, but if I read the first page or a page and a half and I'm like, not really digging the style, then I'm not gonna buy it either.
It's like a job interview with every reader, and it funnels like this. It starts with a cover, and then they go, oh, cool cover. What's it about? They read your pitch. And then if they like the pitch, they will usually read a little bit of chapter 1. So like all of those things, you're like enticing the reader in, and you're like, come, read my book. I promise you'll like it. So the amount of time that you should spend on your pitch and your first chapter is way more than anything else in the book. Like my first chapter of the diseased ones went through like 30 versions over like 3 years, and by the time it was published, I was so sick of the chapter. I was done. I never want to read it again in my life, but I love it, and it was worth the time because of the funnel thing I just said.
Oh yeah, and I would love to draw a comparison, actually, since we're both of the performing arts. In the case that, you know, for us, we would spend hours and hours and years actually training, you know, to sing and to dance and to act. And you go into a room, and this panel of directors and casting directors and music directors and everyone in there, you give them 30 seconds showcasing what you can do / who you are. And they cast an entire show off of 30 seconds sometimes. I mean, of course, there's callbacks, but that would be their equivalent of them reading your first chapter in the book, I would say. You know, like the 30 seconds you give is a monologue and a song usually, and that would be the equivalent of the book cover and the blurb.
Yep, it's crazy.
But so you have mentioned this, we've mentioned this in your bio, you are with Acorn Publishing. Can you give us an idea of your publishing journey? What made you decide to sign with a publisher instead of go the self-pub route, and how is that going for you so far?
It's been going great. I really love Acorn. I definitely think so there's definitely pros and cons to this. A con would be that it is expensive to do hybrid publishing. And what that means is you sign directly with a publisher, you don't have an agent, but you're not doing it all by yourself. You are paying the publisher who provides a service for you and helps you. Now, I would say some hybrid publishers are way better than others. So do your research, talk to authors who have signed with said publishers so that you know what you're getting yourself into. It is expensive. However, for me, I felt that it was very worth it because I need to do things myself, and I need to be taught from someone and glean knowledge from someone who knows what they're doing before I myself know what I'm doing. So I didn't want to do this all by myself. So my parents had asked me several times while I was writing this, like, why don't you just self-publish it? And I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I need more experience to be able to indie publish. So the biggest thing that I've gained from all of this is knowledge. I feel that I'm so much better at writing. I'm so much better at editing. There's professionals doing my cover art. I'm not having to like stress about that myself. I have a formatter. I have, they provide me essentially step by step through almost every single step of this, as well as like marketing things and all of this. So I've loved it. And you know what? I think any passion really is not free. It's just not.
Right.
And unless you have been handed things, from birth, you have to work for it. I don't know anybody famous. I don't know any, talent agents or whatever. I'm doing this from the ground up, but I think that I've learned a lot doing it that way,
Yeah. And with Acorn, how much would you say percentage-wise do you do the marketing and the advertising and such?
So I've learned like different like tips and tricks slash things like I didn't know about BookBub. That BookBub's probably pretty big. I would say most authors know about BookBub. I didn't know about that until Acorn like told me, hey, like you can apply for it if you get selected. Your ebook promotion runs on a massive newsletter. So just different things like that. They have a lot of them that is part of signing with them, that you're in the in crowd and you get all this information that you're not allowed to share with like other people. I haven't shared some things that I have from Acorn. I don't share because I'm not supposed to share. That's when you sign with them, things like that.
Of course, yeah.
So I'm sorry. Did I forget the original question?
No, I mean I think you covered a lot of it. You said how much they help you. Do you think that the marketing side of things, do you think that you do a decent amount of marketing on your own, even though you are with a hybrid publisher?
Yeah. Yes, I do. So unless you sign traditionally, you should be doing a ton of marketing yourself. Just because even with a small publisher, there's just not enough people to like do that. They do market me. They have a newsletter, they have an Instagram and a Facebook page, and they share my cover reveal and my release day stuff, and they have like a free ebook of the month, and they have all these things. But I market very heavily myself. If you're traditionally signed and you get an agent and you're signed with a traditional publisher, they have like teams of people that do that for you. So it's you don't have to do as much yourself, but then on the other hand, you've signed away a lot of your rights traditionally. So there's that too. And your agent takes a cut, your publisher takes a cut. Like for me, I keep all of my book sales. Acorn doesn't take anything from book sales for me. I've paid them up front. And then now on the back end, it's all mine. And I haven't signed away any of my rights.
That's great. Now, Sky wants to know, would you self-publish for your next project now that you have all this knowledge?
Yeah, potentially. I would consider doing that. I think I would need to Like the only things I think I would have to learn if I did it all myself was directly contacting cover artists and things like that, because Acorn's like my middleman for all of that. They
Mm-hmm.
have, they give me a form, give us your idea for the cover, and um, we have these certain cover artists in particular that we go to and we work with. So you can't choose other things. It's a certain set, but they're phenomenal. I love my covers. I did a great job. But I would have to do more of the administrative stuff all on my own, which I could do and I would not be opposed to doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know, I just want to throw out there that I follow Acorn on Instagram, and I think they have a really great platform, and they share a lot of really great stuff on their Instagram. I saw that they did, I think it was like 100 straight days of different books or something.
Yeah.
And it was really great. It was really interesting to look through those and see all the different covers and all the story ideas that were a part of their, you know, their publishing house. So, and I love the brand too. Acorn it's such a great name too. But on that, I would love to know, talking a little bit more about your debut, actually, the Diseased Ones. How was it to publish your first novel? What emotions did you go through, and how were the reactions you got when you first published?
I was so excited because I've been working on it forever, and it was the like since I've been writing for so long, I've started so many projects, but the Diseased Ones was the first like full manuscript that I finally finished, and it was like it's self-contained story, and I was so proud of it and so excited for it. It went through a lot of rewrites and several conferences. Like my learning process was with that book. And even still, there are places in the Diseased Ones that I can pinpoint that I've grown from now, that I wouldn't make the same writing choices as I did when it was published.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Unseen Ones is kind of a mark of where I am now. And, you continually get better.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard for me to not like read some stuff in the Diseased Ones and like take it apart and be like, ugh, I wouldn't use that word anymore, or like, ugh, I used like an adverb here where I would have cut the adverb now, or things like that. But I think the story itself, the core of the story has been the same. So I think that's the biggest part that I wanted to share with people, is like the story of someone who messes up. And a lot of people were mad about that. And I don't know, I don't think I fully realized what the reaction would be to the book, because it's been mostly it has been positive. And
Mm-hmm.
even with the positive, people are very frustrated with my main character. But that was the point. I was writing someone who was incredibly brainwashed. That was the point. So yeah, I don't know. It's been fun because some people took that point and was like, "This was a terrible book. I hated it. Stupid, naive main character." And then other people were like, "That's why I loved it, because she was so brainwashed." And I was like, "Thank you. That was what I was going for."
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds like you got a good amount of people who really understood you, and a handful of people that just didn't. And that's, I mean, that's how it is, right? In this industry, you know,
Mhm.
you put something out there, and then once you put it out there, it's really in the hands of those people and how they interpret it, and if they like it or not, it's I mean,
Mhm.
it's objective, right? So, um,
And
so
you have to take it with a grain of salt, because you have to realize that readers read books differently than writers read books. Like, especially in the young adult target audience, the the type of person who will pick up my book and read it is typically not someone who will also go and publish their own books. Mostly readers read because they're readers. And
mhm.
I know there are writers who read because they are writers, and they should. But then I have to, give myself a break for things that I like maybe a little bit cringe at, because I'm like, really, no one's going to notice. And the people who do notice are also writers, and that's
Yep.
why they notice.
Yeah, and I mean, there's been a handful of those little things that I mean, even if it's like one word here, or this should have been there, and I'll say that to, you know, my wife or a family member, and they're like, nobody's gonna notice that besides you. And I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
but I noticed. That's the
besides
problem.
you.
Yeah. So, And I love that
Sky
Sky
says I
brings up,
hated
yeah.
Hollis. Oh, sorry. Sky says I hated Hollis in book one, but loved the book. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's good. I mean,
Um,
right. I mean, that's kind of what you want, right? You don't want people to necessarily love Hollis. You just want people to know Hollis and love the book.
yeah. But
And
past, in book two, I love her. And then in book three, I like love her squared. Like, yeah, she gets better and better. Like, yeah, she's just a badass.
that's awesome. And now that you've published book two, I'd love to talk a little bit about crafting the sequel. What was it like going in after publishing book one, where you thought, like you said, that it was over, and then book two? What was it like to sit down and write? Did you have all these thoughts of, well, this is what people expect. These are the questions I left unanswered. What was going through your mind when you first thought, I need to write book two?
So I had written the first draft of book two before I started pursuing publication. So I didn't have all these like rules and restrictions, I guess, floating around in my head because I didn't know.
Okay.
So I wrote it very quickly and without thought. What I mean by without thought was like I just was writing what I wanted the story to do, and there were definitely a lot of places that I had to fill in and explain better or bring in an explanation that wasn't even there, like something just happened. I was like, cool, that's great. I'll just let it happen. But now that the books are coming out and like book one is canon now, book two is canon now. So when I'm drafting the third book, I literally have both of these just on the table with me because I'm referring to them to pull, things that happened, even particular lines of dialogue. What was challenging is when I was writing the Rosalie scenes in book two,
Mm-hmm.
she brings up memories from book one. So I had to go in and copy exactly lines of dialogue in order and copy actions the way they happened in book one in the book two scenes because it was a memory. And so that was very interesting to do because I had to really make sure that book two matched book one verbatim on the lines of dialogue that I brought up and things like that.
Yeah. And I have something similar in my book. Actually, within the same book, I had to go and copy paste basically something similar so that I had the, exact same thing, because if it's one word off, it's not right because it's, they know that it's written before. So it's very frustrating to have to worry about consistency things sometimes, but you have to, and that's the thing. But MC is asking, do you ever think you've gone too far with your writing in terms of offending people? And do you have sensitivity readers before you publish?
So I don't have strictly like sensitivity readers. I do have one of my beta readers who she's just naturally like that, and she is very good at picking out maybe like the way I worded something isn't correct. Also, my editor is very much like that. There were some things where she said, like, you can't word it that way, or you can't say it that way. You have to do it another way because that's not, like, I guess, PC. I didn't have very many things like that. In terms of, like, I don't know. It's a tough question because people are offended by everything. People are just offended by everything, even if it's not really offensive. So there's also a point where you have to take it with a grain of salt and realize like your book itself might not be for everyone and everyone gets 1-star reviews because of, this reason or that reason.
Mm-hmm.
But because I wasn't writing in, I think, a theme of like what I would say is like hot topic politically, I wasn't too stressed about I guess the whole, I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You didn't really have to focus too much on sensitivity reading because you weren't writing in a topic that necessarily would evoke those thoughts and emotions toward your book, right?
Yeah.
Essentially. So
Good question.
so you've mentioned, that you've worked on 2 of the 4, right? So you're halfway done. So what is it like working on book three, and is this series the only thing in your head at the moment?
I have some ideas. I don't have anything like that I'm super excited about right now in terms of other book ideas, but also that's okay because I'm very much married to this series and I will not work on another book until this series is done.
Hmm.
Um, Writing the third book feels very exciting because I can just still see growth in myself, and I think I'm going to say that with every book that I publish.
Right.
But also, I'm at a place where my main character is very confident in herself and who she is, and she knows what she wants, and she's just a very strong go-getter type of character, which someone pointed this out to me, and I thought that was an interesting comment that they said, your main character in the dystopian genre doesn't fit the mold because normally main character in a dystopian genre already has beef with the government, already is like, yeah, I'm this like badass person. I'm gonna kick the government's ass and we're gonna like take it down. They start book one like that, and I started book one with a character that was like totally on board with the government and was like, yes, like they're right. This is the way it should be. I don't want to change what I believe. I don't like this. And now in book three, she is that, like, I would say more of a traditional dystopian main character, let's kick the government's ass kind of person. So I'm very much enjoying that side of her now. And writing with her like this is very fun.
I bet. Yeah. And she sounds like a really great character to follow. Like she starts from a place where we hate her, and she's almost in a character, an enemy to lover for us, right? With the reader, right? That's
Yeah,
the relationship
yeah.
formed. It sounds like,
And I
now,
don't think I fully realized how much of a gamble that was because I love her in every book. I really do. I'm mad at her in the first book, but I still love her and I still loved writing with her and that part of her journey. And I think partially that blinded me to the fact that people wouldn't like her. And I mean, I guess I knew people wouldn't like her maybe in the end, but I didn't realize how much people wouldn't like her. I don't know if that makes sense.
yeah. And MC, yes, yeah, my book does deal with disability and chronic illness, and visible and invisible illnesses, very heavily actually throughout the series. So I do, and I've talked with some people about this before, but I do actually have a small group of people that read my drafts that are within the community. I myself I am in the community, as I have Crohn's disease, so that's a chronic illness, and that's there's no cure. So, and in fact, I use my own experiences, but I also draw from experiences of others I've talked to. I've talked to a very big number of people. I've also read a number of journals and research papers and tons of things to make sure that that I get it right. Because that's, I think, especially in dealing with certain things like mental and physical illnesses, it's very important to not misrepresent people, but also
Yeah.
important to show that there are differences within even those groups. So I think that that the big thing
So
for me is, oh,
do
sorry,
you
go
have
ahead.
do you have sensitivity readers that you gave your book to?
I did. I gave it to a couple people that they read it, and I got feedback from them basically asking, is this okay? Is this right? Do you feel like this would be offensive? Do you feel that I misrepresented the this group or that group, or this illness? And I have to say it was great. I got no qualms from them at all. The only thing that I had to really worry about was a specific injury that I had I had not paid enough attention to at one point, and I had to go back in and fix that. Um, but besides that, no. And in fact, I actually have a lot of background knowledge that I'm willing to share with people if they do come forward and say, this doesn't seem right. There's no way, this or
Mhm.
that. I have a good reason. I have a solid reason for every one of my characters that has these issues they're dealing with. Um, and I think I brought this up last night with Zach, but You know, it's being being differently able just means that you're able to do things differently, right? It's not, you're not unable to do things just because you have you know, a mental or physical um, disability, for lack of better words. But
Mhm.
and so that's a big thing in my book. You know, it's about teens who joined together to take down this facility that created them and essentially threw them away. So um,
Oof,
yeah, so I mean, there's a lot there, and you know,
that sounds really good.
it's a lot about found family too, which I think is very important because you know, in the real world, you know, you find people that you hold on to and you love that are not blood related, but they are very much your family, and sometimes more than your actual family. You know, for many people, so it touches on that as well. So
Yeah, the diseased ones touches on that as well.
and
The found family trope is a fave of mine.
same, I love it, and I think it just it hits very close to home for a lot of people, you know, and I think it's nice to see that in fiction as well. Um, Now, Hollis is our main character for this series, but is there another character that you really, really love that isn't Hollis?
Jonah. Jonah's her teacher figure. I love his character to death. So, yeah, he especially in book two where you meet him in book one and he has several scenes in book one and I would say he is uh, part of the main cast, but then in book two he's like probably the other I would say like main character. Like it's not his story, but he's in like almost every single chapter of book two.
Oh
So
wow.
love his character and the dynamic between Hollis and Jonah. It's been a really fun one to write because I myself have been a student for a very long time. I based Jonah off of one of my professors in university, but now I'm also a teacher myself. And so I get that mentoring role and student role. Like I've been both. So writing from both perspectives have been very fun.
Yeah, I bet it's nice to implant a little bit of yourself into your story, right? Without being directly you. Um,
Yeah. Mhm.
now, is there a character? Do you feel like you really identify with Jonah or with Hollis, or is there somebody else that you feel like is very close to you in this book?
Okay, well, so Candace is there's a brother and sister, Keith and Candace Keaton. Um,
I love
some
the
of the things,
alliteration.
yeah, some of the things that Candace does is very much what I would do, or like some of her quirks are some of my quirks. And so she's she's like part of the supporting cast and she's fun to write with. She's not my favorite to write with, but there are just some times where I'm like, this is me. This is what I would say. And then there's another character named Vianne and her like backstory is very beautiful to me. And so she's becoming more of one of my favorite characters to write with just because of like her ability and like who she is as a person. So she's fun.
It looks like Jubilee is saying Libby is Danielle.
Libby is me? Okay, let me explain. So there is an homage to my maiden name. My married last name is Harrington. My maiden name is Lizotte. And so I named one of my characters Libby Lizette, and Lizette was just kind of like a throw out to my maiden name Lizotte. Because I drafted book one and book two when I was Lizotte before I got married. So I don't know. It was just like a weird thing where it's like I want to feel attached to my maiden last name, like just a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's fun. It's a fun little Easter egg to throw in, right?
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about this series, and it sounds like a lot of people are very interested in this. And I know we're going to be giving away a copy, the ebook copy of the Unseen Ones tonight after, you know, in the giveaway. I would love to hear a little bit of the book if you have a snippet for us.
Yeah, I do.
And while you're reading this, if anybody has additional questions for her, feel free to throw them in the comment section, and we'll get to those afterwards.
All right. This is gonna be from chapter 2. I'm just gonna read a page or two of this. Okay. Actually, let me start here. Okay. I look over my shoulder, and, as if in slow motion, I catch the last glimpse of the squat little lady running down the remaining stretch of hall. I'm slammed into the handrail as the next bomb detonates. All of the air is sucked up from my lungs. White-hot color blurs my vision, and pain attacks me. I try to breathe, but my chest refuses to comply. Blood pools in my mouth, and ringing fills my ears. I can't move. I can't breathe. I'm dead. I must be dead. Adrenaline is working to restore my senses, and as I sit up, my terror climbs to new heights. The hallway behind us is gone, and Liz Engel is nowhere to be found. Blood drips from the side of my face. I place my hand to it, and the slippery, warm sensation makes me vomit. I turn over, spilling the sick to my left. Someone is shouting at me. I wipe something hot from my mouth. Someone is shouting my name. I stare at my hands, my vision blurring in and out of focus. Hollis? Hollis! Firm hands grip my own, and I'm pulled to my feet. The second I'm up, a fresh spike of panic brings me out of the fog. Jonah! I cling to him to stay upright as another boom shakes the flimsy metal stairway. Move, he says. Down the stairs, quickly. I grab the handrail and begin the descent into the massive room. Darkness overwhelms us as we drop lower into the chaos. Concrete and earth litter the floor below, and as we move deeper into the belly of the compound, the smoke and dust thicken like the brewing of an ocean before a great storm. I clutch the railing, squinting through the tumult. Chunks of the vaulted ceiling are missing, and the night sky, littered with stars, twinkles above us as if freedom were at our fingertips, taunting us with an escape that's just out of reach. The truth is, everyone is stuck in the pit. Everyone is trapped, and the roar of the military jets and the screaming of frenzied people stab at my bleeding ears. Here we go.
That is quite a predicament we see Hollis in here.
Yeah. It's the bombing scene.
Is that scene one of your favorites?
I think it's one of my favorites because of the description that I use. It wasn't like my favorite from the book. Yeah, I just read some of the paragraphs that I really liked, like looking up at the stars and like freedom's at our fingertips, and just, I don't know, some of the analogies I use in there, I like it.
Yeah, no, I love it. And the storm analogy as well. I really like that one.
Jubilee.
MC is asking, question to both. What would you say is the strongest element in the novel? Example, entertainment element, educational element, or inspiration element?
Ooh. I think it is highly entertaining. I think despite the pieces of the first book that I think could have been better in terms of my writing, I told the story I wanted to tell. And I approached it from what I know that I like as a reader. That's what I wanted to write as an author. Because when I read Hunger Games for the first time, I read that book in like one go. I was like, I can't put it down. I need to know what happens next. That's the kind of books I wanted to write. And so I feel that I did that justice, at least from my perspective, how I know that I like to read books. So yes, the entertainment aspect. And I think thematic, like theme-wise, I think the theme in the second book is very strong in terms of you can make mistakes in your past and you can make terrible, horrible mistakes, but you don't have to let that define the rest of your life. And you can choose to grow from that and to become a better person and to overcome your circumstances, no matter how bad they seem. Because, yeah, Hollis is in quite a predicament at the start of book 2 that she has to learn to navigate. And so, yeah, the grief in that was cool to craft.
Yeah, and I think I have to say for me as well, it was the entertainment aspect. I crafted a lot of this book based around the story itself, but like having having key moments that make you say, okay, wait, what happens now? And so I think that was really important for me. You know, I made sure that the midpoint was very much like that, and the climax even more so. So I'm just, yeah,
Danielle, you're the
it's very
best
much
book
that.
writer.
It's very
The
much
best.
the best book writer. Yeah, Rice Christie's is saying, Danielle, you are the best book writer.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry, I read that so weird. I'm so
And
sorry. Thank you so much.
Jubilee is saying another learning from book 2 is trust no one. Well, but trust teachers.
Well, trust teacher, yes.
I love
Yeah,
that.
I had a lot of fun. There are several reveals in book 2 that actually it was so funny because Jubilee was reading one towards the end where she read it, she stopped reading. She's like, "What?" And it was just silence on the stream for like 10 seconds. And she was like, "What? No, what?" And then she had to compose herself and then keep reading. I was just like, "Let's go." That's when you know it's a good reveal.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. And getting feedback like that is so great. I mean, I know I sent my book to a few ARC readers, and one of them came back and said, and they were very honest and very critical, but they still gave it 5 stars. And she said, I had all intention of putting this book down and reading it later, but I found myself continuing all the way through, and I couldn't put it down. And I was like, that's amazing. I'm so glad you said that. Um,
Love that.
Now, I have a couple other questions from the story I gathered before I announce our winner for the giveaway. And one is, what's the most difficult part of the writing process for you?
Hmm. Um, it's when I get to like a chapter where my revision of the chapter still doesn't seem like it does it justice, or it still doesn't address my editor's notes. There have been a few times where I can, most of the time when I see a note, I can go, oh yes, okay, I see what you're talking about. Like, let me fix it, or let me add, let me rearrange this, that makes it stronger. There are some notes though where I understand the gist of the note, but I'm like, how do I do that? How do I answer that in a way that makes sense, that very clearly, informs the reader of what the point of it, or the reveal or something like that. There have been some chapters that I've had to revise like 10 different times, and it's so hard. And then the end, it's totally worth it, and it's what needed to happen. But yeah, it can be tough to really nail down a part that, either a beta reader or my editor or something just felt like really wasn't clear, that you thought was clear, that you thought was
Hmm.
like, oh yeah, duh, it's this. But then the reader was like, I don't understand what you're trying to do.
Oh yeah, and I think that's the interesting thing for us writers, right? Like everything's in our head, so we're like, why don't you understand that? I understand it, but like, unless you write it out for them, they're not gonna know whatever you're talking about.
Yeah.
Um, Now, last question here before we get into the giveaway is, best advice to teens looking to become authors.
Sorry, say that again?
The best advice to give teens looking to become authors.
Ooh. Okay. Uh, I think that people start off as storytellers first and foremost. And I think that most people are good storytellers because they can imagine, all this epicness, and it's a genuinely good story. But people's writing is typically not great when you start off, even if you've been writing for years and years, unless you've had some kind of either formal instruction or you've read books on how to write. For example, On Writing by Stephen King, Save the Cat
Hmm.
Writes a Novel. My friend Ross Hartman came out with one like a month ago, The Structure of Story. Unless you've had some kind of like writing education, that's what you need. Because in order to be competitive, regardless of what publishing route you're taking, traditional, hybrid, indie, if you want people to buy your book, you have to know how to write.
Mm-hmm.
If you want people to read your book, you have to know how to write. And you might have a fantastic story, but if people can tell that your writing is not where it needs to be, they won't want to read it. And that's just the reality of it. So I'm a big advocate for education. Writing conferences if you can, build yourself into a writing community where you can get feedback from other people who are also doing this, who have published or are trying to publish. Read books on writing from other people who know what they're talking about. Hire an editor that believes in you and your project, that is good at what they do, who has worked with other people as well, so that you know that they're legit, because there are people out there that just want to take your money, who don't want to help you. So that's the other thing too. It's a very big, scary, world to navigate, but it's a lot of time, it's a lot of work. But if it's really what you want to do, then learn how to do it. Learn how to make your writing better. And then, when you're ready, then you'll be able to be competitive and get your book out there, whether it's indie, hybrid, or traditional. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, that's a great list. I mean, if I add anything to what you said, I would just want to add that if you are finding a professional editor, which you should do so with somebody who's in the same genre, preferably, I think. In addition to them having worked with other people, hopefully they've worked with other people in the genre that you're writing, because they would understand the market of that genre and the writing that sells well, hopefully.
Yeah, and you need, just I guess very briefly on editing, you need an editor who's a developmental editor who's going to address your story and your characters and plot holes and places to improve. Line editing and copy editing, which is essentially, proofreading, that comes like way later, like when it's gonna get published and you are done telling the story and developing all of it. So you need to find a really solid developmental editor who's gonna work with you in your book and and have it be in like a good way, because it's hard to get feedback on your book, because you're like, oh my gosh, it's my baby, I love it, and then someone says, well, like this part sucks, or like this part, what are you even talking about, what are you doing here? I think, this whole chapter, you don't even need that. It's hard to hear those things, but you need someone who has a critical eye, who's been doing this a long time, to tell you that, but in a loving way, in a good relationship, so that, it's not coming from a stranger, and it's someone that you've built, a relationship with and trust with, that you can trust with your book baby, because it's, it's your heart and soul.
Absolutely. And if you get lucky enough, like I did, to marry your ideal reader, then you have somebody there all the time.
I know, my husband actually, he's been such a gem through this whole project. He's very good at pointing out things that don't make sense right away, or telling me, maybe it could be stronger. And, sometimes that hurts, but I totally need it. I'm like, okay, you're right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Danielle, I think it's time to do the giveaway, and then, yeah, I think we're there. So tonight's giveaway winner is Rice Krispies. So congratulations. I love the name, by the way, the handle, Rice Krispies. Love that. So if you could just message me after this is over, I'll get your information and we'll get you that ebook copy of The Unseen Ones. So just to wrap everything up, this was day 7 of 12 of the 12 Days of Delivery Company. My book is available for pre-order right now at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo, Apple Books, everywhere you can probably get books. It's available in paperback for $14.99 and ebook for $4.99 until release day on Saturday, where it goes up to $6.99. So order now. Danielle, thank you so much for joining us. It was great to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was a blast. And also, congratulations on your upcoming book. It's so exciting.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.